Okay, so I've been using MotionEyeOS for a while now, and if I ever want a temporary camera, I'll just plug in this solar-powered power bank with my Raspberry Pi Zero 2W, and that acts as a camera, which I can access from my iPhone or my iPad anywhere. It's connected to my local network, and I can VNC into this network. And so if I launch the web browser, you can see what the camera is showing currently. And I can also have a look at anything the camera's recorded, and I can change loads of settings, and everything is really, really good. But unfortunately, it doesn't really get any updates anymore. So this is the latest update, so June 7th, 2020. In fact, I've got a separate video on how to install it to a Raspberry Pi Zero 2W because this version doesn't work. It does work with Pi 4s, but there's a separate version for Zero 2W that someone has adapted, and it's all shown in my video. And if you're interested in VNC, so the remote desktop I was using my iPad to control my main Raspberry Pi 4, I've got a separate video on that. But the reason I'm doing this video today is because there was a story on Hackster.io, so YoloCam. So a Raspberry Pi 4, 3 or 02W surveillance camera with standalone AI, live streaming, email, cloud storage and GPIO triggers. And you can see it's there with a Raspberry Pi 02W and an official Raspberry Pi camera. There's different versions. So GPIO, which is one that can trigger something with GPIO pins. So what they're saying is you could set off an alarm or turn on a light or something like that when it recognizes a specific thing. So that's using AI to recognize what's on the screen. There's an email option as well. So again, you can use AI, so if it detects, I don't know, say a van or something, it will send you a message to your email. And YOLO IP to connect to the IP of commercial surveillance cameras. And there's an example of the email you get on here. But it looks impressive, so I thought I'd have a look. There is a GitHub here, which same picture. So there's a version here for Raspberry Pi 4. I've downloaded the email version, which you can see down the bottom here. So let's just write that to an SD card first of all. So let's launch Imager, choose OS and go down to custom. And in my download section, you can see YoloCam Raspberry Pi 4 email, nicely labeled so you know exactly what you're doing. I've got a 64 gig card in my Raspberry Pi ready to write. So let's click on that and hit write and yes. Now while that's doing, this isn't a free product and I don't know how much of it I can use without paying for it. Cheapest camera with fully functional deep learning capacities. So you can see here, €12.50. Just download the software, flash it to an SD card. Once inserted on your Raspberry Pi, everything works right away. The software comes with the latest Raspberry Pi Bullseye operating system. So let's see first of all what we get for free. So I've shut this down remotely already. So let's just unplug the little micro USB and take off these rubber bands. And you can see my Pi Zero 2W inside with the little SD card, and you can see the Raspberry Pi camera in there as well. So I need to take that camera out and pull out this little ribbon cable. So here is the camera, and I'm going to connect that to a Pi 4. Different cable for the Pi 4, so you can see with the Zero it uses this thin that goes to a wider one, so I just need one that's wide at both ends. So this one is the right thickness. So the way the camera was oriented was like this, so I need the pins to be that way around, so like this. My cat's just trying to get involved. So pop that in and close that up. So that should be enough for testing purposes. So while I was downloading, I thought I'd check out the robot dog from Elecfreaks, only because that comes with the YOLO app on it. So if I show you the camera, you can see it's detecting every now and then it will say person, it will say laptop for my iPad, which is on the desk here. But I thought I'd have a look and see within the operating system, because you can plug this in with an HDMI cable. And I've just got a hub which is giving me mouse and keyboard on this Dopesplay laptop, which is the laptop with no OS, but it's really handy for things like this. And I thought I'd see if I could find anything about YOLO on here, but there doesn't seem to be anything, so all the folders that are mentioned in the wiki aren't on here, so it must be integrated into it differently, or maybe it's a different version, but it's definitely called YOLO, and it uses AI to recognize things that are on screen. So anyway, let's see if that download's finished. Okay, so we're in, and this is how it starts up. So it automatically starts to launch the software, but as you can see, I've got no key file. So it looks like the software, the YoloCam software, doesn't work at all without having that installed. I guess I better buy it then. So this is the website. Okay, let's give that a try. So I've typed in the ID key for the SD card in here, and I put my email in here. So let's submit that. Okay, so €12.50. I can use PayPal for that. Congratulations, you successfully bought the key for your state-of-the-art deep learning app. So I should have an 8-digit hexadecimal number /WR disk and nano key. So this is where I'm going to put the key. Okay, so that's the key in. So if I do Control X and yes and enter. So now if I start the app, okay, so it's started up and running. I'll show a screenshot in a minute. Now I thought I had an original camera version 1, but I've only got a 64 megapixel larger cam, the new camera module 3, and this is a version 2 camera, which they say they don't recommend for the AI bit because it's such a high resolution camera. But that's the only camera I've got. I haven't got an older one. So I've got it pointed at my monitor at the moment. So let's go into the screenshot. Okay, so I've had the camera running for a while now, and you can see that it uses a lot of computational power, going between 50 and 80% thereabouts. It's 74, 75 degrees, so it's running hot at the moment. It's not overclocked, but I do want to overclock it because it's a bit slow with this higher resolution camera, so they recommend a lower resolution camera. But if I put my hand in front of the camera, just to show you how quick it detects, it still hasn't detected it, still hasn't detected it. And there you go, my hand has appeared and it says person. But I need to speed that up, so I'm gonna overclock and also add a fan. So probably the quickest fan I can add is a Pomeroni fan shim, which just saves me messing about with anything else. So let's pop that on top of the GPIO pins. I'm doing this behind the camera. There you go, hopefully it will start up. Yeah, that's working. So first up, let's lower the screen resolution. So let's drop that down to 720, which is still perfectly usable. So screens, HDMI 1 and 720, and apply. Okay, so I've gone with the 2.1 gigahertz overclock with an overvoltage of 6. So I've already saved that, that's all running. And just to show that, if I do NeoFetch, you can see that it shows that it's 2.1 and it's my 4 gig Pi. So let's run YoloCam and see what happens. I had tried a higher clock, but it was cutting out straight away. So it doesn't like really high clocks. I guess because it's working so hard. This would probably have been better off on my 8 gig Pi. So you can see at the moment I've got a screen in the way. It says it's low on power. Why would it be low on power? Okay, maybe I'm going to do, let's just close that down and do an overvoltage of 8 and see if we can lose that lightning bolt that's there. Or you have to clear the terminal, otherwise it comes back. Right, so Control-T and config.txt. I shouldn't have thought I'd need an overvoltage of 8, but let's give it a go. Let's save that and reboot. Just checking if it does reboot alright, because what's been happening is it's come on, it's started to launch YoloCam and then it's just rebooted itself. So let's see what's happening. So when the YoloCam app starts up, sometimes it reboots the Pi. Yeah, it's done that. Okay, so I can't be very aggressive with overclocking unless I try a different Pi. Let's try an 8 gig Pi. Okay, so I've now got an 8 gig Pi in place, and that seems to be much better, much cooler. So let's give it a try. Okay, so it's running stable now, but it's certainly not fast. If I hold my hand in front of the camera now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds behind. You can see that it picks up that it's a person, which is quite cool. You can see that I'm doing a search, and I've done a search for motorcycle because that's on the list. So let's see what Google image comes up with. and see what the AI does. Definitely doesn't like these very white backgrounds that are there. If you get something with a less white background. Okay, so now I've moved the camera in closer, you can see that's picked up it's a motorcycle. So let's search for something else. Clock should be pretty easy. Yeah, definitely likes that as a clock. Let's try some animals, and this is a zebra. Yeah, likes that, 90% sure that. I am getting quite a bit of reflection, and obviously the camera isn't meant to be, what is it, 20 centimeters away from the screen, so it's a bit out of focus, but it's still picking it up all right. Let's go with bird. Person? Why does it think that's a person? Sometimes if you scroll down and get pictures which have less white in the background, it seems to like it. Dog. Okay, it's picked up bird there, and it's called that one an apple. That blue one came up as an apple for a short second. That's classic. One of my favourites, pizza. Shouldn't have any trouble with this, surely. These are quite decent pictures as well. Yeah, look, no worries with pizza. Obviously I'm cutting quite a lot of the process out because it takes 10 seconds. Now stop sign will be interesting because that's on the list, but is it gonna, because I'm in the UK, it's gonna show me a UK stop sign. What's it gonna do here? Oh yeah, it does detect a stop sign on the right hand side. Perfect. And man's greatest invention. What's it gonna be? Oh, it doesn't like those bicycle pictures, but they are quite light. Let's go for one with a bit of a background to it. There you go, picked up a bicycle on that top one. Right, last one, we're gonna go for a bear because I could save the life of a subscriber by them having a bear recognition device. These look like good bear pictures to me. Dog. Crikey, I don't know what dogs look like there. It did pick that bear up though. And if we scroll down through, cat. Cat, and that one can't make up its mind whether it's a cat or a dog. So it's definitely better with some things. People it seems to pick up really well. But yeah, the bear detection is not good. Oh, this will be interesting. I've got a picture of a person next to a bear. There you go, person and dog. And that a polar bear is a teddy bear. But it is picking up that bear on the right. This is good fun, this. So let's go to their GitHub. I'll leave that running in the background, see if it copes. Now obviously remember this is going to be better with the low res camera. I might order the first gen camera to play around with it. On the robot dog earlier on in the video, you recognise how fast it could be, and that was on a Compute Module 4, which is the same computational power, and it was running a desktop and it was running the software for the dog. So I don't quite know if the dog has a much lower resolution camera. That could be it. Right, so YoloCam, GitHub. So let's have a look again and see. So yeah, a cheap Raspberry Pi V1 camera is what they're recommending. And I could set up the email so it's going to send it to a Google address. And here you see it says about all the triggers. Yeah, that's the original Raspberry Pi camera. They must be available cheap now. Okay, so CEX look like they've got a Rev 1.3. So the original 5 megapixel model was released in 2013. That was followed by an 8 megapixel camera module 2. So yeah, I'll probably order one of those. And they talk about using a good quality SD card, but also talk about overlay. And I did a video about this. Basically, you can get the Raspberry Pi to use RAM instead of storage, and that's going to protect the card, but you need to install the operating system, get it all set up, and then switch on overlay. And it means that any changes you make to your operating system don't stay because it's just using RAM. But it's obviously a very cool way of not having to overwrite an SD card, which would run it out really quick. Ah, there you go. So that one, even though it's the original, it does say Rev 1.3 anyway. So I need to get one of those from CEX. So I've definitely enjoyed playing around with the AI on this, and obviously it can only get better. And if I order that lower resolution camera, obviously it's going to feel much more responsive. So I think I'm going to have to do that in the future. But I hope all this helps. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe.